Before I tell you anything else, I need you to know that I have the whole thing on recording. I want you to picture something for me. You wake up, and for a few seconds, everything is normal. The ceiling looks familiar. The blanket feels like yours. You think maybe it was just a rough night, and then your eyes adjust. And there is a man you barely know lying next to you in your bed. And your best friend, the woman you spent the night with, is standing in the doorway. Not panicked, not relieved, just watching. I screamed. I genuinely thought something terrible had happened to me. My whole body went cold. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I scrambled back against the headboard and I could not even form words. Just this raw animal panic that takes over when your brain can't make sense of what your eyes are seeing. That moment, and that one frozen, horrible moment, was the result of a plan. A plan that had been months in the making. A plan designed to end my relationship, destroy my reputation, and make sure I never fully recovered from the damage. And the person behind it was someone I trusted. Someone I had laughed with, confided in, and genuinely liked. This is the story of how I let her keep digging her own grave until she disappeared into it. My boyfriend and I met the way a lot of people meet. Through mutual friends, a few group hangouts, lots of excuses to be in the same room. Until finally one of us just admitted what was obvious. He was 36, I was 30. And from basically the beginning, it just worked. I know people say that. I know it just worked. Sounds like something you put on a greeting card. But I mean it in the most boring, ordinary, beautiful way. We didn't fight about stupid things. We laughed constantly. We had built something genuinely solid in less than a year, which is honestly more than a lot of people manage in a decade. The only crack in any of it, the only thing that ever made my stomach tighten, was Tammy. Tammy was his best friend. Had been for over 7 years. She was 30, same as me. And when we first started spending time together, I actually liked her. She was funny. She was warm. She had this way of making you feel like she was fully on your side. Here's what I didn't know then. She was also still close with his ex. They had all been roommates, Tammy, my boyfriend, and his ex. The ex had cheated on him and then moved away to another province. The breakup had been done for 6 to 8 months before he and I ever started anything. But Tammy never fully let that chapter close. She kept the connection alive. She kept the door open just enough for the past to breathe. I didn't know what that meant yet. I just thought she was loyal to old friends. I thought that was admirable. I was wrong. Looking back now, the signs were everywhere. I just kept finding reasons to explain them away. The first thing I noticed was the comments. Small ones, casual ones. The kind that slip in sideways so you barely register them in the moment. We'd be sitting together, just the two of us, and Tammy would say something like, I don't know, I just feel like he's not totally over her. He said something the other day that made me wonder. And then she'd change the subject, just drop it right into the middle of a nice afternoon and walk away from it. Like it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It sat there, and it grew. My gut started doing this thing where every time things were going well with my boyfriend, some part of me would wait for it to fall apart. I'd second guess his texts. I'd overread silences. I was being slowly, quietly pulled apart from the inside, and I thought it was my own insecurity. It wasn't. It was her. There was one night, I still think about this one, where my boyfriend decided he didn't want to stay out drinking. He wanted to come home and spend the night with me instead. Normal, sweet even, but Tammy got annoyed. And not just mildly annoyed. There was this edge to her voice that I couldn't explain, like she was personally offended that he had chosen me. I noticed it. I filed it away. And then I talked myself out of it, because I didn't want to be the girlfriend who caused drama over nothing. My own friends started saying things. They didn't like her. They told me I should talk to my boyfriend about what she was saying behind his back, but I was trying so hard to fit into his world, to be easy, to not be the controlling type who demands their partner cut off female friends. So I stayed quiet, and Tammy stayed close. Listen to this, because this is where everything changes. The night it all came apart, I had gone out with Tammy. Just the two of us. Drinks, music, a normal night out. At some point, again, I cannot tell you exactly when, because I genuinely don't remember. I blacked out. I don't drink to blackout. I never have. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I am careful. I am always careful. But that night, something happened that I couldn't account for. The next thing I remember clearly is waking up in my bed, panicking, screaming, with a man I barely knew sitting next to me fully clothed on top of the covers, and Tammy in the doorway. His name was Peter. And once my brain came back online enough to have a conversation, he told me everything. I had been violently ill all night, throwing up from the time we got home around 2:30 in the morning until almost 8 a.m. Tammy had left around 4 a.m. Left me. With him, a man I did not know. She came back around 1 in the afternoon, took one look at the situation she had constructed, and walked out again. Peter had stayed because he was worried about me. He knew I was diabetic. He didn't want to leave me alone, and he didn't know if he should call an ambulance. He made a judgment call to stay. Here's the part that made my blood run cold when I finally processed it. My phone had been hidden in a drawer. I spent forever trying to find it. And when I checked the call log, I had tried to call my boyfriend multiple times during the night, during the hours I have no memory of. She hid my phone so I couldn't reach him. And then she called him herself and told him I had slept with Peter. I came home from the hospital to find all of my belongings stacked outside my apartment door. He had blocked me on everything. When I finally got through to him, I told him I thought I had been drugged. I told him nothing happened. I told him I had woken up terrified with no memory of how I got there. He didn't believe me. How could he? His best friend of 7 years had already given him her version. And her version was a story. A complete, detailed, convincing story about a girlfriend who had been all over another man all night. I was furious in a way I had never been before. Not the kind of anger that makes you cry. The cold kind, the kind that makes you very, very still. I went back to the bar. I talked to the bartender, someone I knew. I asked her what she remembered. I tracked down Peter and had a long conversation. I gathered perspectives from everyone who had been there that night. And here's what I found. The more people I talked to, the less Tammy's version of events held together. Meanwhile, Tammy was still talking to me like nothing had happened, still playing the concerned friend, still adjusting her story in tiny ways every time we spoke, small enough that you might not notice if you weren't paying close attention. But I was paying very close attention now. My boyfriend and I eventually started talking again, and the exact moment, I walked back through his front door. Tammy saw me on the doorbell camera and texted him, immediately asking what I was doing there. He showed me the text, and something shifted in him. He started seeing the inconsistencies, things she had told him about me. Things she had told me about him, the way she had worked both sides. He wasn't fully there yet. But the door was opening. There were so many nights during those weeks where I sat with the full weight of what could have happened to me. I'm a type 1 diabetic. If my blood sugar had crashed that night, if something had gone wrong medically on top of whatever was already happening, I could have died. And she knew that. She knew my condition. She had known it for months. I still think about that. I think about it more than I probably should. What if Peter had left? What if he had just decided it wasn't his problem and gone home? What if my phone had stayed hidden long enough that no one knew where I was? And then I think about the other version. What if I had confronted her the morning after? What if I had screamed and accused and demanded and made it ugly? She would have had the high ground. She would have been the calm one. And I would have looked exactly like what she was trying to make me look like. Unstable, dishonest, dangerous. The restraint I forced on myself during those weeks cost me more than I can explain. I had proof building in my hands, and I had to act like I had nothing. I had to sit across from her and smile. I had to make small talk. There's a version of me from a year earlier that would not have been capable of that. I used to be someone who led with emotion, who needed resolution immediately, who could not sit on something painful without letting it out. But she had miscalculated something. She had spent months making me feel small and paranoid and untrustworthy. And in doing that, she had accidentally made me the most patient I had ever been in my life. The day I played the recording, I remember being very calm. I had waited 2 full weeks after recording our conversation. 2 weeks of letting Tammy spread her version to the friend group. 2 weeks of hearing her latest twist from someone else, storing it, saying nothing. I sat my boyfriend down, and I pressed play. He didn't say anything for a long time after it ended. The recording was everything, her story falling apart in real time, details contradicting themselves. And then, her telling him afterward that I had threatened her, that I had said I'd hurt her if she didn't change her story. A conversation that, according to her version, I had used as a threat. A conversation I had the entire recording of. He moved out of that house almost immediately, stayed with me until he found a new place. We told the friend group everything, and then we waited. Tammy said nothing. She didn't fight it, didn't explain it, didn't defend herself. She just stopped, moved out, went quiet. Removed herself from every group, every connection, every thread that tied her to that chapter of all of our lives. She had told so many lies, built such an elaborate structure, and when it finally came down, all at once, she had nothing left to stand on, and apparently nothing left to say. My boyfriend and I just celebrated 4 years together. 4 years of something real, something that almost didn't exist because of one person's decision to burn it down before it could grow. I've thought a lot about what drives someone to do what she did. I still don't fully understand it. Jealousy? Loyalty to an ex who had already moved on? Some need to control the people around her? Maybe she didn't even fully understand her own motivations. What I do know is this: I almost let her win. Not because I wasn't paying attention, but because I was trying so hard to be fair, to be rational, to not be the person who saw threats in every corner. I kept giving her the benefit of the doubt long after she had spent all of it. And here's the question I want to leave you with, because I genuinely think about it still. At what point is staying patient a strength? And at what point does it make you complicit in your own destruction? I got lucky. The truth was documentable. The lies were traceable. Not everyone's story ends that cleanly. So tell me, was I wrong to wait as long as I did? Should I have pushed sooner, louder, harder? Or was the slow game the only game that was ever going to work? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Because the most dangerous person in the room is never the one who's obviously angry. It's the one who has already decided to be quiet and watch you talk. If this story hit different, subscribe. New story every week. And trust me, they only get more unbelievable from here.